That's why I do think the rematch is huge here, because it was such a close fight and really could be, I guess, if the fans are saying it's a controversial.
My training team know my body really well. They know what I've been through over the X amount of weeks I've been with them. So it's up to them to make a decision.
It was a very one-sided fight. It was always going to be a one-sided fight, but you can't.
Jake Paul challenges Anthony Joshua to immediate rematch after brutal knockout. Jake Paul calling for an immediate rematch after getting absolutely demolished is laughable. He barely survived the ring, broke his jaw, and now acts like he's ready for round 2. Fans are mocking his delusion, questioning if he even belongs in a real boxing match.
Good, and when I'm having an amazing night, and this just wasn't that. And look, I don't want to sit here and make excuses, but I know
Jake Paul insisting on a rematch after being thoroughly outclassed feels almost delusional. He barely lasted in the ring and now acts like he belongs on Joshua's level. Fans are rolling their eyes at his overconfidence, highlighting that calling for another fight only underscores how unprepared and outmatched he really is.
Skill level, but obviously that's still a massive fight, but I'm gonna, go back for the...
Anthony Joshua's response is calm, confident, and razor-sharp. He highlights the finishing punch that sealed the fight and subtly dismisses Paul's audacious rematch demand. The contrast is striking. Joshua dominates and sets the terms, while Paul's posturing now comes across as desperation from someone who is clearly outclassed in every aspect of the bout.
So the right hand found its home. I would have loved to have landed some more body shots, but it weren't for tonight, maybe in the future, but
David Hayes' advice exposes the harsh reality for Jake Paul. Jumping into fights against elite heavyweights like Joshua is beyond his level. Without proper training and experience, Paul's ambitions look reckless. Hayes subtly suggests Paul should stay in a division where size and skill are more manageable, highlighting just how out of his depth he truly is.
I'd say he sticks with the cruiserweight division where the guys are the same size as him, because that, without having...
Logan Paul praises Jake's grit, but it reads like a backhanded compliment. Sure, Paul showed toughness, but surviving a fight he had no business being in doesn't erase the fact that Joshua dominated. Fans see it as a reminder that Jake's resilience can't compensate for skill gaps he survived, but he didn't belong in that ring.
AJ, in my opinion, he won 4 of them. People will argue that. He at least won 3. No one expected him to last that long. Rolled his ankle, broke his jaw, still fucking fighting, man. Like, that's toughness. Most people wouldn't have the balls ever to step in a boxing ring in their life. He stepped in a boxing ring with one of the baddest men on the planet. Who's 40 pounds heavier than him is 60.
Eddie Hearn's comments subtly underline the obvious. Jake Paul's toughness posed little real threat. Yes, he moved around, but AJ's brief rust was the only challenge he faced. The praise for Joshua emphasizes how effortlessly he handled the situation, while Paul's presence looks more like a speed bump than a genuine test of skill.
Respect to Jake, he was a tough guy in there. Obviously, he moved a lot and made it difficult for AJ. And AJ's been out of the ring for a while, he's a bit rusty. It took him time to just get hold of him, but I was impressed with Jake.
Dave Allen admits Jake Paul's fitness and cleverness, but it doesn't hide the truth. The fight was one-sided. Paul's effort might earn him some respect for trying, but it also highlights how little he threatened Joshua. Fans are reminded that surviving a mismatch isn't the same as winning. This was a lesson in being outclassed.
Well, the fight was, it weren't a fight, was it? It was really, really one-sided. Jake Paul, yeah, I've got to give him credit really, because he's super fit. He's pretty clever really. Like, he'd make a good, Jake.
Ariel Hawani captures the stark reality. Facing Joshua is terrifying for anyone, especially someone like Jake Paul. Every punch Paul threw barely mattered against Joshua's reach, power, and precision. It's a reminder that bravery alone doesn't bridge the skill gap. Fans see Paul's courage, but also the clear mismatch in experience and ability.
And every time he threw a punch, I like winced, because he's a big man and he's an incredible boxer and he's still in his prime, and he's got a very long reach and he's got a lot of power in that right hand, and that left hook is terrifying as well, and so I thought it could end.
David Hayes' breakdown highlights the obvious. Jake Paul had no business stepping into the ring with Joshua. His so-called game plan of running around and hoping for a lucky punch was laughable. The only thing he accomplished was taking brutal shots and leaving the ring with a broken jaw. Credit for heart? Maybe, but surviving a fight doesn't make you a boxer. Paul looked like a YouTuber playing at boxing, and Hayes' words underline how utterly outclassed and unprepared he truly was.
To do, he got a knockout, everyone was expecting it. It's very difficult to pin someone down when they're not trying to engage. Jake's game plan was a good one, was to use lateral movement and the hope to land a big overhand right at some stage to catch AJ off guard. Didn't quite work out, but you got to give Jake credit. Took some big shots there. I think he's got a broken jaw or something, spitting blood at the end of the fight. No, anything's possible. He gave it a go. He dared to be great. Didn't work out for him, understandably. That's why he was such a massive underdog.
Vidal Riley points out the irony of Jake Paul's attempt at relevance. AJ's win didn't just dominate the fight, it introduced him to an audience Paul desperately wants to impress. While Paul may have thought stepping in with Joshua would elevate his profile, it only highlighted his limitations. Fans saw him get dismantled, and Joshua's flawless performance stole the spotlight. Paul's big moment ended up reinforcing that he's a novelty act, not a serious contender, leaving his rematch calls looking laughable.
AJ's win today was the bread. AJ's win today was the exposure to more people. Even though he's mad famous, as we know, like, there's a community he hasn't touched, and I think he touched that community.
Joseph Parker's insight makes it clear. Joshua methodically dismantled Jake Paul. Paul's evasive antics and wild swings were no match for a pro at the top of his game. Chasing and breaking down a YouTuber masquerading as a boxer was hardly a challenge for Joshua. Fans couldn't help but laugh at Paul's futile attempts to land anything meaningful, highlighting that bravery alone doesn't make a fighter. This fight was a masterclass in exposing how out of his depth Paul really is.
I thought Joshua did what he had to do. It took him a while to get it. He had to break him down and chase him down and unleash his powerful.
The Wade concept nails it. Jake Paul's fight strategy was barely more than don't get hit too much. Hoping to survive long enough to throw a lucky right hand is a far cry from real boxing. Even Joshua's off night didn't make the fight competitive. Paul's performance looked like a high-profile amateur hour, more concerned with staying upright than actually challenging a heavyweight champion. Fans couldn't take him seriously, and this fight only cemented his status as a novelty rather than a legitimate contender.
The whole thing, but I think Jake fought a very, how do I survive long enough to land a right hand type of fight, and it made it a little difficult for AJ to get his timing. No excuses, AJ didn't look great, I'll be honest. He didn't look great, didn't look like, an AJ we thought we were going to get, the marauder, the guy that was going to come forward and bang out Jake in one round.
Nakissa Bidarian touches on the online buzz surrounding Jake Paul, but it's worth looking beyond the trending hashtags. Sure, Twitter was filled with respect for Jake Paul, but the context matters. He was trending because he got utterly dismantled by a world-class heavyweight. Paul's so-called heart and spirit were on display, but surviving a fight you were clearly outmatched and doesn't equate to skill or legitimacy. Social media can inflate a narrative, and fans love an underdog story. But in reality, Paul's performance only reinforced that he's a novelty act in the boxing world. The only impressive thing was that he managed to last as long as he did, and even that came with a broken jaw and relentless punishment from Joshua. Trending for respect doesn't change the fact that Joshua dominated him from start to finish, exposing Paul's limits for everyone to see.
The fact that Jake is safe, and more so that he showed his heart. I don't know if you guys were looking on Twitter, but until about 20 minutes ago, the #1 trending thing on Twitter wasn't Jake Paul getting knocked out, wasn't Jake Paul, wasn't Anthony Joshua. It literally was the phrase, respect.
Anthony Joshua's measured praise highlights Jake Paul's only notable attribute, his willingness to step into the ring. While Joshua respects Paul's courage, it's clear the fight was never competitive. Spirit and heart can be admirable in theory, but in practice they do not compensate for a complete lack of skill. Paul took punishing shots from one of the best heavyweights in the world, and his trying his best did little to prevent the inevitable outcome. Joshua's acknowledgement is almost patronizing, subtly emphasizing the gap between a seasoned champion and a social media personality playing at boxing. Fans watching can admire Paul's bravery, but they also recognize that bravery doesn't make a legitimate fighter. The effort was there, but it was effort against an impossible level of experience and ability. In short, Paul's heart can't mask the fact that he was thoroughly outclassed.
I could have knocked him out at the start, But as we saw tonight, Jake has spirit. He has some heart. He tried his best, and I take my hat off to him because, number one, a lot of fighters haven't got in the ring with me, and Jake did.
Daniel Cormier's blunt observation sums up the fight perfectly. Joshua looked like a world-class champion, and Paul looked like a YouTuber out of his depth. The skill gap was evident in every exchange. While Paul tried to move and throw punches, none of it truly challenged Joshua, who controlled the tempo with precision and power. Cormier's phrasing, "not on his level a little bit," is a polite understatement for what was, in reality, a total mismatch. Fans watching could see the comedy of Paul's overconfidence and the futility of his attempts. This wasn't a competitive bout, it was a showcase of Joshua's dominance against someone clearly unprepared. The fight reinforced the idea that courage and social media fame cannot replace years of training, experience, and elite-level skill. Paul's rematch calls now sound more like wishful thinking than a credible challenge.
Hey, Joshua looked good, dude.
Joshua looked good.
He looked good right off.
Joshua actually looked like he was fighting a guy that was...
The aftermath of this fight leaves one clear message. Jake Paul may have heart, but he is nowhere near Anthony Joshua's level. Fans and experts alike have seen it. Every punch, every movement highlighted the vast skill gap. Paul's calls for a rematch now feel more like a desperate plea for relevance than a legitimate challenge. Social media may be full of respect for Jake Paul, but hashtags don't change the reality in the ring. Joshua's dominance, power, and ring IQ were undeniable, and the fight reinforced why elite boxing isn't something you can fake with bravado or courage alone. Now it's over to you. What do you think about Paul's rematch demands? Should he even consider stepping back into the ring with a fighter of Joshua's caliber? Or is it time to accept that his boxing journey has limits? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and let's settle this debate once and for all.